No, it's me! The one!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kick It to Scoops. I'm your host, Scoops, the sole admin of Scoops. And wow, the finals begun on the weekend. 2 teams were sent packing, 2 teams went advancing, and some sides get a second chance at it. Fremantle, their season is over. GWS, unfortunately, their season is over. Hawthorn's season extends another week, as does the Gold Coast Suns. Brisbane get a second chance. Adelaide get a second chance. Geelong and Collingwood get a week off, and they both advance to home prelim finals. Now, the equation is simple. We're down to 6 teams remaining. Geelong, Collingwood, Adelaide, Brisbane, Hawthorn, and the Gold Coast Suns. Gold Coast, wow. David Swallow, wow. Extends his career by at least another game. Nat Fyfe's career is over. The Giants, the Orange Tsunami, they're out, and they've already got players requesting trades out, which, let's be real, we all knew all those players were going to retire or leave. And now on the show this evening, we've got the Scoop Show's Bang, a very heated topic that a lot of people have been talking about since Friday night, and I'm going to cover it right here on the podcast this evening. Then, on top of that, we've got my trade update, which I'm going to do, and obviously go through the finals that just gone and the ones coming up on the weekend. So let's start off with this. You want me on Cameo, head to cameo.com/Cooper G. Want me to roast a friend, wish someone a happy birthday, anything at all, cameo.com/Cooper G. And if you know any AFL, AFLW players, any up-and-coming draftees or any state league players, you want to see them on the channel in a Golden Challenge and or interview, please do send me a message or try and get something sorted. More interviews and Golden Challenges coming up. I've got plenty that I've already had recorded that I haven't been able to upload because you can't post everything at once. You've got to spread it out. And with all the podcasts I've got at the moment, it's limiting my days to post videos. I don't want to put multiple videos on the same day. Then when I'm at the AFLW games, I'm going to put the match day vlogs out the day after, etc., etc. So it just makes it really hard to find time and space to post these interviews because you don't want to put them all together at once. I want to give them the greatest, maximize their time so, you know, everyone can watch it and not have 50 videos coming up at once. Right. Oh, it is time for that world famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang. Boom. 2 things. I've got a late inclusion to Scoops Goes Bang. Mark Viney. Viney's final siren. Well, Mark, let me talk to you. Now, he wanted to run on SEN saying, by the way, at midnight, basically, on Saturday night, he was saying, and I quote, Mark was saying, that Marcus Winhager will join Melbourne. Not maybe, not, it was definitive. He was, in saying it will be happening. He won't be at St Kilda, and he'll be going to Melbourne, is what Mark said. Well, Mark, you're going to be further from the truth. The truth of the matter is, number 1, you're not a journalist. Number 2, you don't even cover trades. Number 3, you're talking complete and utter shit. And now Ollie, who is on the podcast with Dan Gorringe, is St Kilda's MC, and he's pretty close and tight with a lot of the Saints guys. Marcus Winhager got a text from Ollie, and Windy texted him back, and then he showed Dan, Ollie did, the text message, and then Dan's reply after reading the text was, well, gee, that story is false. Now, does that mean Windy's going to Melbourne? He still could, but to be so definitive as Mark was saying, he was further from the truth. He's lying. He's just making shit up because he's just throwing at the dartboard because he knows it's a possibility. So he just throws the dart at the dartboard, and just if it sticks, he'll say, I told you so. And if it doesn't happen, you won't hear a word out of him. Just like how some other journos operate these days. Like Cal Toomey trying to claim that he knew Charlie Curnow was leaving in July, and apparently he said it everywhere. Well, newsflash, Cal, I watch Gettable most weeks, in fact every week basically, and you didn't mention shit. So the journos or so-called journos or commentators who want to be journos or journos who think they're top shit, and that they get everything first, they don't get everything right. But to toot your own horn and act like, oh, I got this in July. No, Cal, you didn't get shit. No one said Charlie Curnow definitively was leaving in July. So don't give me that shit. It was only in the last 3 to 4 weeks that came about. So, yeah. Now, Mark, you are wrong. You are absolutely wrong in your definitive statement. I'm not saying he won't go there, but you are absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Now, the major topic I wanted to talk about today on Scoops Says Bang is this. By the way, Mark, pull your head in. Now, Cam Rayner. The man who loves stirring up the crowd. And to be honest, I loved it. I mean, for all the complaining and moaning people are making out of this, like, Cam Rayner is not the umpire. If you've got a problem with someone, have a go with the umpire for actually giving the decisions. Now, the AFL came out and said the first one wasn't there, but the second one was. No. They were both there. You can call it soft all you want. And were they soft? Yeah, they probably were. But also, newsflash, Mark O'Connor and Zach Guthrie shouldn't be elbowing someone behind play. One was 150 metres off the ball from Mark O'Connor, and the one from Zach Guthrie, which was the second one, he elbowed him and ran at him and charged at him with his back turn. They're free kicks all day, every day. I can't believe the uproar, the amount of complaining people are making. Yes, it was a soft free both times, but both were there. Soft, but they're both frees. You can't elbow someone in the back or in the back of the head or in the shoulder, whatever, whether it's soft or not, whether you charged at him or not, whether you stood still and elbowed him. The fact of the matter is, that was behind play. The first one was absolutely there, and so was the second one. I mean, I can't believe the AFL admitted they were wrong with the first one in their eyes, because number one, they don't admit they're wrong to anything, and number two, they for once weren't actually wrong. It's soft, but they were frees. And typical, the only people complaining about it are Geelong fans. Very hypocritical, Geelong fans. You are the most protected club in the competition, always have been, and probably, unfortunately, always will be, because you're the AFL's golden child. What happened to that salary cap breach you had? What about everything else you get protected in? Chris Scott makes lies on the injury reports, or Geelong, make lies on the injury report. Reece Stanley was laid out, yet he was out for 3 weeks, so they knew that earlier in the week. I think it was Mark Blixarf who said they knew Tuesday. Then another player or coach said Thursday. Then the other one said Monday. It's like, make up your mind. I don't know if it was Tom Stewart. It was someone else. Another player said it. And the fact of the matter is they lie and bullshit with the injury report all year, every year. They get away with it. The AFL had a strict rule recently during the year. What happened to that? Because Geelong just manipulated it and lied again right in front of you to see. I mean, even other journos take the piss out of Geelong's so-called late change because they know, they lie all the time and they can get away with anything, can Geelong. They absolutely get away with everything. They are the most protected club in sport history. Forget about Australian sport. They are the most protected club in the world now and always have been. They better not always will be. That needs to change. That's why get rid of Andrew Dillon and bring back Gillan McLachlan. Now, the Cam Rayner thing, like I said, people are complaining. The uproar was outrageous saying the game's dead. Well, the game's already dead and buried anyway. So I don't know what that made you come to that conclusion. It's already been dead and buried for years. It's a lot of match fixing goes on. But that was actually correct, both calls. Now, people will be yelling at the screen, you're only saying this because you hate Geelong and you're anti-Geelong. No. I've just said and admitted that it was a soft call. But they're both there. If you don't want it to be a free, maybe adjust the rules. Simple as that. It is a free, both of them, all day, every day. Now, I'm a bit confused as to why the AFL admitted one wasn't a free and one was, when they were both the same thing. The only difference was one was 150 metres off the ball, and that was the one they said was wrong. If anything, that's more the reason for it to be a free kick. Now, there was footage of Cam Rayner talking to the umpire, and Mark O'Connor ran up to him and started complaining at him. Cam Rayner's allowed to tell the umpire that you're elbowing him in the back of the head or whatever the hell you were doing. He's allowed to do that. Geelong get away with everything. And the 2 times they don't get away with it, they bitch, complain, and moan. That's the motto at Geelong. Bitch, complain, moan. Geelong's, what was it, slogan? Is that what they're called? That's what they should be known. The Sookie Club, the Bitchy Club, the Moaning Club, and the Complaining Club. That's all they do. That's all Geelong do. When something doesn't go Geelong's way, they bitch, complain, and moan about it. They're the biggest sooks in the competition. I mean, look at Chris Scott. Whinges about everything. When they lose a game, he complains about something. And even when they win, he still complains about something. Maybe actually worry about the game and maybe think, gee, we just beat a good team. But nah, you're complaining about everything. You're manipulating rules. I mean, and then Geelong want to complain about some clubs and the academies and everything like that. They're the last one to complain about getting handouts because they always get handouts each and every week by the AFL when they are the most protected club in the league, land, and in the world. So, plain and simple, to Geelong and to the Geelong fans in particular that are bitching, complaining, and moaning about that Cam Rayner incidents, pull your head in and lift your game. It's embarrassing. I actually have to laugh. You won the game and you're still complaining. See, further proves my point that we're still talking about this. Well, I'm only talking about it tonight because the podcast is tonight. But we still see Geelong fans bitching, complaining, and moaning about this because, let's not talk about your win. Let's complain about Cam Rayner. And by the way, the amount of complete and disgusting comments I read from Geelong fans in particular about Cam Rayner is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. I mean, Geelong fans are the last ones to talk when they've got snipers in their team like Tom Stewart, who has been suspended more times than they've had good opinions in their whole life as Geelong fans. But no, we're just going to forget about Tom Stewart and the dirty sniping acts he's done to Richmond players in finals in the past and elbowed players. We're just going to forget about all that. Let's just forget about all of that. But let's just talk about Cam Rayner because he outplayed your team. And when they play you again, if they are to play you again, it would be in the grand final. And they will beat you. I guarantee you that. They've had a fair few players out. Hipwood's out for the year now of an ACL tear, unfortunately. Lockie Neal's unfortunately out for the rest of the year. So they're being tested at the moment. They've got a fair few other injuries as well. So they're going through it as well at the moment. But time will tell. But to the Geelong fans and to the people bitching, complaining, and moaning about Cam Rayner, pull your head in and stop abusing him and lift your game. It's embarrassing, it's pathetic, and it's dodgy. Pull your head in. Hope you all enjoyed that edition of the world-famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang. All right, let's now go review the final series matchups. All right, shall we? Let's go. So, as I said, we had the 4 matchups on the weekend. Adelaide 55, Collingwood 79, Collingwood by 24 points. I told you so. The Pies were always going to win this. Adelaide are not that good. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Adelaide got lucky the last matchup only about 4 weeks ago when they got gifted that game. And I said they won't win this game. I was adamant and confident they wouldn't win, and they proved me right. Adelaide are pretenders. I don't know how many times I need to say this. They're going to go out in straight sets, most likely. And if they do scrape over Hawthorn, well, they're going to get beaten the next week against against Geelong. Oh, actually, hang on. Well, we'll see, but they scrape over to the grand final. They're not winning it, so let's put it to bed. They're not winning it at all. They may go out in straight sets. So, we'll see. But yeah, overall, though, Collingwood just always felt like they were in control, to be honest. They were the far better side. The Dacos brothers played their part. I thought just overall the Pies played really well. Jamie Elliott had his good moments as well. This game feels like an eternity ago. But yeah, good win for the Pies. They always get the job done. Friday night, the MCG, Geelong 112 unfortunately defeated the Brisbane Lions 74. Geelong by 38 points. Well, Brisbane, they had their moments, but in the end, they weren't crash hot, unfortunately. Josh Dunkley was really good. Lockie Neal, prior to his injury, was amazing. I thought, Darcy Ford in the ruck was amazing. 51 hit-outs or so with 15 disposals was clearly the better ruck. By the way, I did not even realise that Mark Blicavs is 34 years of age. He doesn't play like he's 34 years of age. He plays like he's 25, which is just astonishing. But he did okay, but Darcy Ford was better. But it was Dunkley, it was Neal, it was Jasper Fletcher, it was Will Ashcroft who had 30 disposals. That's why he was a top 5 in my Scoops medal. Will Ashcroft is a gun already and will be for the future of this competition. Levi was subbed out, but he was still fine. GWS 88 defeated by the Hawks 107. The Giants are out and lost to the Hawks by 19 points. Disappointing. Lockie Keefe has just announced his retirement today, so we wish Lockie Keefe all the best in his career. 17 seasons, 119 games, I think it was off the top of my head, went on to Lockie Keefe on his career, but he didn't play in this game. He only played early on in the season. Wasn't injured, just wasn't picked. And the Giants kicked like 6 goals in a row in the third quarter or so, got them back in it, but Hawthorn were probably in control from the start. They were having a lead in the first half by like 24 points, thereabouts for most of the half. They kind of maintained that. The Giants came back because we know the Giants will always come back. But unfortunately, that was the end. And unfortunately, Darcy Jones has suffered an ACL injury, which is shit news. Darcy has been through injuries before and severe injuries. And unfortunately, now he's got his second ACL, I believe, in his career, in his short career so far. So we wish Darcy all the best. Hawthorn, well, they were the better side. I mean, some of their major players were really good. And they just consistently were the better side throughout the whole game. And they advanced this week to play the Crows. Well, game of the year? No. Moment of the year? No, because that moment belongs to Naz. But I reckon the second best moment of the season happened in Perth at Optus Stadium. Fremantle 79, Gold Coast 80. David Swallow and Nat Fyfe in what was potentially both their last ever games were subs. Both were nearing milestone games. I think Nat Fyfe and Dave Swallow were looking for milestone games at they had milestone games around 250. And boy, did they deliver. Nat Fyfe, came as the sub, had about 7 disposals and had a good impact. David Swallow, one of his first disposals, he turned it over when he should have hit a target, 30 metres lace out, and didn't make the distance, which probably tells you why he's retiring. But, gee, Dave Swallow made people and others who thought, Dave, that wasn't good, mate. That's going to cost your team, and it could have. And it almost did. Marby Old Shoal for Hawthorn in the previous game, by the way, had a solid game, as did Cam McKenzie. Got to mention that. Not Cam McKenzie, sorry. What's his name? John Newcomb. So Marby Old Shoal and John Newcomb had solid games for the Hawks. I forgot to mention that, so I just looked at my notes to mention them. But now, so where was I? Yeah, Dave Swallow. Dave Swallow has a big moment at the end. But before that, Mac Andrew had an amazing moment to put them in front. Luke Jackson took a nice mark and people thought, oh, yeah, Freo won. Some people went the early crow. I saw some Freo fans were getting very chirpy at that moment in comment sections and everything like that. And then, well, they shut up pretty quickly when, Mac Andrew got the goal. And then, Dave Swallow said, hold my beer, gents. Got a mark about 45 metres out. Ended up being touched from Neil Erasmus. But that moment, when that sunk through the goals, oh boy, did the crowd erupt for that thousands of Gold Coast fans that were there. It was amazing. It was a pin drop for the Freo fans. Dave Swallow, a guy who's been there from the start, the only inaugural son left, a former captain, the inaugural son, their first ever finals appearance, their first ever victory is all because of their veteran, their former captain, their leader, the inaugural son, David Swallow. His brother Andrew's been in the competition for a long time and had some moments in finals. But Dave, had a moment that you will never forget. Now, how do you describe the moment? Because he got the goal, celebrated like the goal, then it was reviewed about 3 minutes later and then given touch. It ended up being the winning behind. So, the winning point. Now, Jimmy Bartel has, not history, Jimmy Bartel has competition now for the best ever point in history, or thereabouts. Jimmy Bartel was one name that comes to mind. There's others as well, obviously. Naz has the best winning goal after the siren in history. And Luke Shuey, in that elimination final. Sorry, Port fans, for reminding you all. But yeah, Dave Swallow, wow, take a bow. I know it was touched, but it went through the goals, and that's the match-winning point. And that eliminated Fremantle. It would have been better for Freo, in theory, had they let that be a goal. Yes, there will be a point down. There's 9 seconds left. At Optus Stadium, you're not going coast to coast in 9 seconds, and you just know logically that wasn't going to happen, and the Suns weren't going to allow that. You would have better off letting it be a goal, be 6 points, and take the gamble to being a draw when at least the ball's in the centre square. So I don't know why Neil Erasmus and all the Freo players were wanting that to be reviewed. Doesn't make any sense. Neil Erasmus, by the way, signed a 3-year extension with the Dockers, which is good for him and the club, as he had interest from the Bulldogs, and he could have gone there, but he chose to stay on a 3-year deal. But yeah, odd decision there from Erasmus and co to want to have that reviewed, because it really cost them in the end. So it is what it is. So, Dave Swallow, you are the GOAT of the Gold Coast Suns, and so good that their first moment in history in a final series has a moment like that they'll cherish forever. No matter if they're eliminated by the Brisbane Lions or the prelim or lose the grand final or even win it, that will be the moment that you will remember forever as a Gold Coast football club. David Swallow, the inaugural son. David Swallow, the inaugural son, the biggest moment in that club's history, that moment right there. And I'm glad he got to celebrate that in that moment, despite it being given a point in the end, but to celebrate it like it's a goal. Pin drop at Optus Stadium. Wow. When I was in Perth, I said Optus Stadium, acknowledge me. Well, Optus Stadium, acknowledge David Swallow. Oh, Freo fans will be hurting after David Swallow just sent them packing. They were given the old heave-ho, and they are not flag mantle. They've been dismantled. Ouch. But yeah, here we go. So well done to the Gold Coast Suns. Rowell and Anderson were amazing. Witsy dominated Jackson and Darcy, absolutely murdered them. He was amazing. Ben King, albeit kicking 3 behinds, I thought played his part. So, they're the ones advancing to a semi-final, and Freo are not. So there you go. So now let's go preview the semi-finals before we go through our trade wrap to wrap us up. So the 2 semi-finals, Friday night at Adelaide Oval, 7:40 p.m. Victorian time. It's Adelaide hosting the Hawks. I don't know. I really don't. Joshua Shelley will be back for this game, apparently. So I'll go the Crows in this one by 5 points, and Hawthorn will be sent packing. Saturday night at the Gabba, 7:35 p.m. Victorian time. It's the Q Clash, the biggest Q Clash in Q Clash history between Brisbane Lions and Gold Coast, the biggest game they've both ever competed in against each other. I don't know what the record is, but it doesn't matter. I don't know what the record is, but it doesn't matter. What it will matter is that Gold Coast is my prediction to win again with the injuries Brisbane have. I think they may be going down straight sets, which isn't good for them, but I unfortunately think that's what will happen. I think Gold Coast will win by 16 points. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Now, let's wrap us up with this trade update. So Jacob Ware will be going to Port Adelaide and has officially announced that he'll be going to Port Adelaide as an unrestricted free agent, or a delisted free agent, as he was delisted in the past. So Jacob Ware will be joining Port Adelaide. Will Brodie will join Port Adelaide, even though he's contracted, but they'll let him go free. They don't even play him at all. Hasn't played for 2 years. Jesse Motlop has now been mentioned as a potential option for Port Adelaide. He's contracted for no more years. Port Adelaide has shown interest. I don't know why they would want interest in Jesse Motlop. He would have to be one of the most overrated players in the competition in terms of the hype he gets. Francis Evans, who Port Adelaide had in the past, is better than Jesse Motlop, who they've re-signed for another year. Campbell Chesser has turned down the Eagles' 2-year offer and will join the Carlton Football Club. Someone finally wants to join Carlton because Sauce is out, TDK is out. Others will probably go out like Charlie Curnow or want to go out like Charlie Curnow. So Carlton finally gets someone. Campbell Chesser. He doesn't play checkers, he plays chess. The Saints will be landing Tom De Koning, Jack Silvani, Liam Ryan, if a trade will go through. Lekalia officially yesterday, which is great news for the Saints. Can't wait to have Lekalia join the Saints in the backline with Callum Wilkie, Dougal Howard, and co. Be absolutely fantastic. Sauce as well, Jack Silvani. Sam Flanders, we'll have to wait and see where he's at. St Kilda obviously is really interested. I don't know if that's definitely going to happen. We'll know more when Gold Coast are eliminated, but time will tell. St Kilda picked 5 players up 5 years ago when we got Brad Hill, Dougal Howard, Paddy Ryder, Dan Butler, and Jack Higgins. Can we replicate that this year? So I would argue if we were to acquire Sam Flanders, the 5 would be better than the previous 5 we picked up in 2020 range. Some other names, Jack Petruccelli will probably join Carlton as a delisted free agent. Sam Draper is officially nominated Brisbane. He will get there, along with Oscar Allen as a free agent also. Jordan Ridley's got 4 years left to go on a deal. Essendon are adamant he's not leaving. They'll let him go. If they're smart, he's injury prone. Play hard ball, sure. But thinking about it, Brisbane got a late first rounder, which will be around 14, 18. Academy picks will push it out to 20. They've got their own academy players, Brisbane, so they have to get rid of that pick. So I think Brisbane will part ways with that future pick. Sorry, not the future pick, the current first rounder. Jordan Ridley's not worth that, but he's also contracted, so that is around the mark, especially with the academy pushing it back picks. And Essendon will cut their losses. They don't have to worry about his huge salary cap. They'll let him go. They're just playing hardball at the moment. They'll let him go. You watch. And, both teams wins. Dan Annable, who's a top 10 pick, where a bid will come for him. They'll effectively get him and Jordan Ridley for that late first rounder. So, and maybe a future second or something like that thrown in there as well. So, it's a win-win for Essendon. They get rid of the huge salary cap space. They get a late first rounder for him because he's not worth that, Jordan Ridley, let's be real. And then Brisbane will get Jordan Ridley and Dan Annable. Brisbane wants some support in the back line, so it works. And if he can be injury-free, Jordan Ridley is a good player. So it's a win-win for both sides. I think Brisbane definitely win a lot more because Dan Annable's a top 5 to 10 draft. I don't even know what that even means. Draft prospect. So, yeah, it's a win-win. I think Brisbane definitely win, though, if I have to pick a side that wins. Now, what other players have we got on this list? All right, let's just get it back up. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Time will tell with some names. Zach Merritt and Zach Butters. Zach Butters, the interest will never go until the end of the trade period, same as Zach Merritt. Now, Caroline Wilson and co are mentioning that Hawthorn are really, really interested. St Kilda were interested last year, and Essendon said no. Zach Merritt wanted to go to St Kilda, despite what people say. Essendon wouldn't let that happen. They don't want to let it happen again. But now Zach Merritt's amped up the frustrations. He's shown doesn't agree with the direction and co. He wants to stay, but he's really getting pissed off of how they're running things. So I'd expect him to quietly want to leave again. And to be honest, they should let him go. I mean, they're a rabble Essendon anyway in the men's program. So they should just let him go and get more first-round picks, to be honest. But this is not the draft for that. So I'd understand why they want to keep him. He's their best player. He's their captain. But I would ask for players from Hawthorn. And I'm talking Jai Newcomb type and everything like that. So they got all the leverage there, Essendon. But an angry captain is not good for their club. Marcus Winhager has interest for North Melbourne and Melbourne in particular, and the Giants. I would say, the longer this is, the more it doesn't help. St Kilda changed their offer from 2 years to 4 years last week, and apparently they're revising it again as of yesterday. I don't know what journal. I think it was Jay Clark that said it. I think Windy just wants more money out of St Kilda because he knows he's really good, and I think he's a good player. So I just think this is using other clubs as to make St Kilda bump up the offer, which they're doing. So I feel like, a tactic to get more money out of St Kilda. And look, I understand that if Windy was to leave, I'll be disappointed, but I would respect his decision. It'd be frustrating to lose him because I think he's a really good player and he's a good guy. I've met him a few times, but hopefully Windy stays. Rowan Marshall. Now, I want to make this abundantly clear. This Mitch Cleary campaign against St Kilda is pathetic. He always has been a St Kilda hater. He's the worst journo. He's a piss take of a journalist, by the way, going around. This absolute campaign he's got against St Kilda, I don't know. It's like he's doing this on purpose to piss me off. He's an absolute loser. This Rowan Marshall meet with Geelong crap. Trying to say he's not worth much in a trade, and then saying Geelong has like some kind of leverage over St Kilda. Explain to me how a contracted St Kilda player Geelong has leverage over. Give me a break. Now, if Rowe wants to go to Geelong, then I'll say, number one, I'll say, no, that's not happening. And if you want to entertain offers, I'd say to Geelong, okay, who are you going to give us? And if you don't say anything significant, then I don't want to hear from you at all. And to be honest, I don't even want to hear any trade suggestions because I'd rather have Rowe and TDK together. So I'd be just shutting that trade down altogether, going, that's just not happening. Simple as that. Will it happen? Time will tell. I hope not. I'll be disappointed if that happens. Again, a bit like Windy, got all the time for Rowe, but I'd be disappointed if it happens. But like Windy, as I said, I'd respect their position, but I hope it doesn't happen. But there was only a few players at Geelong I respected, and that was Mitch Duncan, who's announced his retirement. So on to Mitch, who we're going to West Coast, and basically Reece Stanley and maybe one or two others. Rowe would be in that position as well. So, we just have to wait and see there. But just a few other names I want to mention here is Elijah Hollins with Campbell Chess. I want to go back to that one for two more to go. I think it's simple. Carlton and Michael Voss ripped into Elijah Hollins. He's contracted. Should be a straight swap. Chess has a future. Elijah has a future in the competition. Both of them, if they can get their injuries and act together. I think a straight swap is logical. I think it'd be a good move for Elijah to go to the Eagles. Elijah Hewitt, Harley Reid, Tim Kelly and co at the club, in the midfield group. With Elliot Yeo, if you can stay injury-free as well. I think that could help them, and help him more importantly. I think logically it's the right move to make there. The final name I want to mention is Malcolm Roses. John Ralph saying that it's down to Sydney or Richmond. He will absolutely be leaving Gold Coast, but you won't hear nothing until it is over the season for the Suns. I had to make up my mind. I reckon he'll go to Richmond only because he'll be guaranteed games there. If he goes to Sydney, he's in no different a position than Jacob Costanti was prior to him joining North Melbourne. So that's my AFL trade wrap. There'll be more names to talk about in the coming weeks. And obviously during the trade period, we'll have a daily wrap video. Well, that's the plan for now anyway. But obviously plans can change. My final thoughts are simply this. You want me on Cameo, head to cameo.com/Cooper G. And if you know any AFL, AFLW players, any up-and-coming draftees or any state league players, and you want to see them on the channel in a Golking Challenge and or interview, please do send me a message and we'll try and get something sorted. Windy and Rowe, please don't leave. And welcome to the Saints. Lekalia, Tom DeConing, Jack Silvani, and hopefully Liam Ryan, and hopefully Sam Flanders, and maybe, just maybe, there's another player the Saints are interested in that you don't know about. Go Saints.